because there is a lot to talk about this week. And not a lot of it's good, y'all. Welcome to the Bonnet Chronicles. I am your host, Kalari GXC or Kalari Gamer Check. If you follow me on Twitter, and if you have, you know I've been very vocal today in the last few days because there's been a lot of fuckery going on and it hasn't all caught up yet. So this is mostly for those of you who are going to watch me on YouTube. And thank you to those who have been watching me on YouTube. I appreciate the views. Last week I took a bit of a break because I got my first vaccination shot along with kiddo. We're doing fine. I started a writing project and pushed myself a bit too hard, but other than that, there were no other real negative side effects. I had a slight fever one day, but that was because I was pushing myself way too hard and didn't get enough rest. So once you get the shot, rest, hydration is very important and you should get it if you have the opportunity to get it. I am autoimmune compromised and COVID could kill me. So I wanted extra protection for myself, for my family, and now everybody in this house has had their first dosage, and next month we're going to get our second dosage so that we can be prepared. Um, it's been a week, y'all. Just so much fuckery. And we're going to do things just a little different this week. We're going to talk about some social issues first, which I know some people are like, well, how is that different from most of your Bonnet Chronicles? There's going to be political talk later, but I wanted to separate the social issues and not mesh them so much because there's a lot going on right now. I know that some of you have been on social media and have seen the stuff going on with Nicki Minaj and her husband. It's frustrating. It's frustrating the fact that women are treated like objects. Women are dealing with violence, especially sexual violence, which in the case of Nicki Minaj and her husband, they tormented a woman, completely tormented a woman, lied on her name, tried to make it seem like she wasn't a black woman, which even if she wasn't a black woman, I want to get this clear. You shouldn't condone any kind of violence towards women. But the fact that she was able to put it out there that this woman was white and that some of her fans was going to stand that and attack her, so much so that the woman had to go on and do an interview, which is painful enough. You're reliving your attack. Then you have to express the harassment that a famous musician put upon you. And then the fear because a hit was put on this woman's head by Nicki Minaj and her entourage. And I'm going to put allegedly because you have to for legal purposes. But we know, those of us who from the sidelines watch all this mess that goes on in Hollywood, we know how people like her operate. And she had already caused enough nonsense last week as I took a time off of all times to spread COVID misinformation, that lie about her relatives' testicles or a friend of her relatives because she couldn't even get that lie straight enough. So she was already being a clown in the media, trying to distract us from the fact that her husband has to register as a sex offender because of the attack he allegedly did. But this feeds into what I really want you to understand. Our society has condoned and accepted violence against women far too long. The whole fairer sex, lesser gender, need to be protected. You see it all the time, and it's sickening. I see people all week arguing about missing white women syndrome. And I don't want to downplay the fact that white women go missing, the news media eats it up like it's candy and it's everywhere. And it's even getting into streaming things like YouTube. I've heard more this week about Gabby Petito's disappearance than any of the 700 indigenous women that have disappeared and children, any of the black men who have disappeared. One, July Day, who was found dead and laid in the morgue for weeks. And before people start getting outraged in that, understand that we are under a pandemic. There's a backlog of information and stuff going on. Hey, respect, welcome to the chat. And that forensic science is not like the TV shows. So, you microwave generation types, stop expecting immediate DNA results. This is not a CSI episode. But the misinformation that has been going around has been ridiculous. But what I want to get point blank out there about what Nicki Minaj did, what a lot of people do, is downplay violence against women. And you get into these arguments about, well, the media doesn't care about Black and Asian and Indigenous women. And that argument definitely needs to be highlighted. But the point is, our gender isn't respected in the first fucking place. And until we get to the root of that problem, arguing about who the media highlights doesn't matter. Because in the reality of the situation, women in general are in fucking danger. White women being raised to accept abusive situations because they think their purchased society is worth more protecting than themselves. Black women having to deal with whether or not we need to be viewed as strong or we need a relationship in our lives putting up with fuckery and abuse and disappearing. But nobody seems to give a damn. And I've seen it in several cultures when women are trained to be lapdogs to fucking fucker. And we need to stop teaching our daughters that nonsense. There is nothing wrong with strong women. There is nothing wrong with smart women. But what is wrong is society's view that we are somehow different and needed to be treated less than unless we can make babies. It is so frustrating that there was a trail of abuse to what happened to Gabby Petito. That video of the cops interviewing her, how upset she was, the fact that witnesses said he was slapping her. We need better training for how to handle victims of abuse. We need better resources to get women out of these situations, to get them counseling, because I know it is not as easy as just separating them. But that has been a tactic of police for a while, and exactly. Human incubators is what they look at us women as. And the disrespect to our gender goes right over to our trans sisters who are being murdered. We just lost one the other night. I'm tired of seeing the disrespect for women. But what pissed me off this morning was after I went off on it yesterday on my Twitter, once again, people jumping in with their, are you sure about that? Or worse yet, let's talk about another marginalized group. And I'm not here to downplay anybody's pain. I understand that there are a lot of people who want to get their voices heard. You got a Twitter, you have one coming at me, make your own thread on it. If you care about the plight of a group and you want to amplify that, who is stopping you from talking it? But what you're not going to keep doing is going into Black people and women's threads when we are talking about one subject and decide, no, I don't want to talk on that. Or this is a good opportunity for me to bring up this that completely deflects and takes away from the topic. Right now, as a woman, I am tired of seeing this shit play out. True crime is just littered with men who have rape charges that don't get to stick them in jail for a while, who have abuse charges that just get overlooked. A couple of men had either attempted or full murder. My ex was one of those guys. I found that out well after I left him. These guys have a trail of violence that often goes ignored by society because women are viewed as less than, and that shit has to stop. I know men can be raised to respect women. I know that women can be raised to respect men. But we have a society that continues to push the narrative that women are somehow less than unless we're carrying a life inside of us. And even then, it doesn't go beyond the fact that we're being a human meat incubator, and that shit needs to stop. I have watched way too many men act out of pocket, especially these last few months. And I don't care if you're a part of the marginalized group. If disrespecting the female person or woman, whether she is trans, whether she is if she just identifies as a woman, is your jam, you're a horrible person. But our society continues to let that happen. And it doesn't help that women are so socially constructed to accept this fuckery. I've watched it. I've watched educated women take a punch because they thought they were supposed to. I've watched tough women deal with abuse because we were raised to believe that somehow that validates our existence. We have to stop it. And it just feels like there's a cycle of hate towards women. I watched this idiot yesterday, or maybe it was earlier today, go after my friend Case, calling her the C word because she thought about either adopting or buying a pedigree dog. I don't know what your problem is right now, men, but you need to talk it out with somebody. What we ain't gonna do is keep taking your disrespect on our names. It is ridiculous. Exactly, respect. But the amount of hatred I'm feeling from men lately doesn't make sense. Exactly, Turtle. It was ridiculous. Just, he, first of all, I know Twitter is supposedly an open forum, but if you're going to have the gall to jump into somebody's thread and make a comment about how they should adopt a pet, be mindful of their situation. And minding your business and shutting the fuck up is 100% free. But to devolve into calling women cunts because they didn't agree with your assessment on how to adopt dogs, because FYI, white men usually not the arbiters of knowledge that you think you are, and we don't need your unwanted advice. What? That don't you start. Explain it. It's okay. I just feel like, especially right now, white men, if you're an ally, we know. Don't tell us, because the ones of you who have to tell us, we know you're not an ally. If you're tired of your brethren who are very loud, very wrong, and constantly need to mansplain, come and collect your cousins. We women have been collecting people for years now. It's funny how you have enough energy to tell us that you're on our side. You put BLM in your bios. You say you're all inclusive. You have all these cutesy names on social media, but you still don't come and collect your fucking cousins. You need to start doing it because it's tiring. Every time we want to talk about a serious issue, we have to deal with a man putting his input in there where it doesn't belong. And if this doesn't apply to you, I suggest you keep it moving. Because I'm not here to coddle the men who are supposedly doing the right thing, who feels targeted for some reason, because you shouldn't. If you're doing the right thing, my words won't affect you. But if you're not, you're going to feel a twinge of guilt. And if you truly are, you're probably seething right now and good. You need to be. Because I'm tired of disrespect. It's just frustrating. And then you've got women like Nicki Minaj who are empowered. Her career empowered her. And instead of taking that power and using her voice to amplify stuff that helps the community, stuff that helps fellow women, she is just as bad as every misogynistic prick that most of us have had to deal with. And to go and stoop to threatening her husband's victim, having her people threaten this woman's life, that shit needs to stop. And it all ties into the disrespect that we women go through. It shit's got to stop being normalized. It's so frustrating right now. Thinking about the future with Axiom, I talked about it. Right now, I'm the mom of an amazing young son. I've always wanted at least one more. And I've always thought if I had another child, I want it to be a girl. I want to raise another black girl in this world. But I'm facing that dilemma of this world is so fucked up towards women. And I don't want my girl to go through the stuff that we go through just to prove her worth. But you know what? I want to make this world where girls know their worth. And I can't deny the world a little girl because of my fears of this world. So many people think just yelling about how bad things are is enough. But yelling without action is just noise. And stomping your feet and acting like, well, I'll just won't do nothing. Inaction is a waste. And way too many people are preaching inaction. I look at that young man who survived Parkland. You want to feel for these kids because school shootings shouldn't be such a norm. And gun violence, sadly, is a fucking norm in our society that just, there was one just yesterday. It's so ongoing that you don't even bat an eye anymore because we're going to be on to the next one. Every few minutes, there is gun violence in our country, and it shouldn't be. But it has raised a generation of kids that you want to have hope for. Uh oh. Is it still frozen?
No, it's getting better, but it did have a couple of lights.
Yeah, it's red. I apologize for that, y'all. But we're trying to raise a generation that will be better, but how? How when we aren't teaching them what they need to do with their voice? It's real easy to build a social media platform and get popular and let your head get gassed up like David Hogg has. He has really got high on his own supply. And now he's out there putting stuff like, well, I got time on my side. Yous are all old, and eventually I'll get what I want that way. David, on the off chance you might find your name somehow linked to this Bonnet Chronicles, and I probably won't tag you, but somebody, because there's always snitch taggers, might, you need to learn that your threats don't matter. You seem to think that the youth vote is this powerful entity, but all you seem to do is threaten to stay home. So when you try to hostage negotiate with a non hostage entity, what is that supposed to do? And you want certain things. You yell for certain things. You expect the people supposedly in power to just magically make it happen. But that is not how politics work. And if you want certain things and you think you deserve certain things, instead of shouting it on Twitter, instead of giving cheap ass interviews to whoever will give you amplification, run for something. You think you can do a better job instead of waiting for people like me to die? Because, honey, I've got a lot more years in me. And I vote. Do something. Make some action instead of noise. Because all that is empty noise. And some of you keep amplifying this. You think I want to see that kid's nonsense? But all morning, up and down my timeline, y'all were arguing with him. And you know what? I need y'all to understand social media. Because some of you play right into the hands of paid contrarians and clout seekers. And maybe after listening to this, you will understand the ways you give them amplification and justify the shit they do. Pay these people dust, man. People arguing with Karen Hunter all day today because of that stupid tweet she put out for Katie Porter. She knew what she was doing. It's like a bat symbol for the K Hive right now, and y'all should be focused on so many other things. There are so many upcoming races and voter initiatives that we should be paying attention to. All of those receipts that you were trying to take to that woman who doesn't care. She already got her blue check verified. She got a podcast. People are listening to the stupid shit she says. Don't give her more shit. Now, I guarantee you, she is going to be out there with the hit pieces about how Kamala Harris fans are an attack squad. And some of y'all just gave her nothing but fuel, nothing but ammunition for her shit. I wouldn't even know who she was if half of y'all weren't arguing with her. My timeline was full of retweets and then screen caps after I blocked her and a few other of them blue verified heifers. I am not going to keep wasting time and energy on people who make profit off of contrarianism. It's just like Jason Johnson. So many people argue with him over and over and over again these last few years. He is very misogynistic. I had his number from the get, and I just was like, you know what? He ain't worth my time and energy. And the more you argue with him, the more he goes, see, look at the attention I can stir. Because they know anger is an emotion that can be manipulated. And anger leads to you clicking on their links. Even if you're going to tell them that they're dumb. Stop giving these people your attention. That is the worst thing you can do to them. You realize that? If her little Katie Porter tweet had gotten no response, that would have killed her ego. The crickets would have been maddening to her. But she knew what she was doing because y'all make your buttons so easy to push. Stop being easy targets for trolls. That's all the Karen hunters out there are. They're troll baiters. I don't believe she believes anything that she can't get a paycheck out of. And she's fucking stumping for the worst mediocrity. How are you trying to push Katie Porter, who most people only know because BuzzFeed shows a little whiteboard antics in politics? What's the last piece of legislation she's actually drafted and gotten passed? That's the only thing I care about. You notice she ain't saying stuff like homegirl was, oh good lord, why am I blanking on homegirl's name? I was just talking her up too. Give me a moment. I'm gonna get this right, y'all. Lauren Underwood. There we go. Had her stuff saved. You notice how Karen isn't talking about propping up Lauren Underwood? Why is that? Why does she go immediately to Katie Porter? Just like homegirl Lauren Mack, who is a stand for Mima. You ever notice that all of them have nothing but ire for our vice president, and that's a reason. These are pick me sister girls. They know that if they grease the right pockets, if they promote certain people, they get paid. Never trust a sister girl who has all of this political advice for people who don't do the work, who don't have the receipts in legislation. Because you can say what you want about our VP, but before she became VP, she was doing the work and getting the job done. And I am wary of any black woman that has anything but respect for Kamala Harris, but definitely the ones who want to act like her job is to do everything in DC. They're paid to cause contrarian chaos. They're paid to have you parrot their empty words and depress the vote. And if you don't want to see a worse administration than the Trump administration, you need to stay on your game and stop letting these paid heifers tell you how to think. I don't even want you taking my words at 100%. Verify everything. Make sure that your opinion is truly your own. Too many use a foot soldiers for fuckery and you parrot whatever somebody popular says. You never know when somebody is leading you down the wrong way. Come on now, y'all. I know being accepted, wanting to feel a part of something feels good, but you know what feels better? Being your own person, making your decisions, and standing by them because you know what you believe in can be proven. And I know it's not easy when you back a candidate and they don't win. 4 years ago, I worked hard on a friend's campaign. It was a sloppy campaign. It was his first. So a lot of things weren't done the way they should have been. The organization wasn't there, but he's young and it was his first campaign. But I still did what I could because I believed in it. Came in fifth. That was better than not getting any votes at all. Losing is going to happen every once in a while, but I guarantee you, he's not giving up, and neither am I. Because when you believe in something and you want to get the work done, you got to keep plugging away at it. And in politics, you think our MVP didn't feel the weight of the world on her shoulders when she made the decision to drop out, but it led her to better things. And I need y'all to understand that a loss is only a complete loss when you give up. Some of y'all are out there thinking that, well, what are we supposed to do? They're already telling us the midterms are going to be bad. They don't have to be. Nobody's stopping you from getting out the vote but you. The few people, and I'm saying few because if you're not living in the South or under places like Kemp and DeSantis, you're not going through voter suppression. So stop pushing that lie. Too many of you are making an excuse for not doing your basic civic duty and expecting the president and vice president to do everything in DC. Excuse me. Thank you, dear. That's not how civics works. There are checks and balances, but on top of that, we need a Senate that is willing to do his job. So we need to purge some of those useless motherfuckers who aren't doing their job. We already got a solid House, but it could be better. We could clean away some of them heifers that are stunting for power. You know, Little Miss Met Gala, don't pay attention to me, but let me have a big ass message of tax the rich on my back. Or break down and cry in front of cameras because I decided to finally do my job but didn't really understand what I was doing. Why did you elect that girl? And then you have these women that say, well, we're sticking it to the patriarchy. No, you're not. Because when you fill a seat with an incompetent person, you're not sticking it to anybody but the people they're supposed to represent. And if you really want to stick it to the patriarchy, elect a woman that knows what she's doing so that we can get legislation that goes and protects us from being forced to give birth to our rapists as babies. I'm just really sick of the performative antics. And too many of you amplify the performative antics because it's real easy for you to sit at your table on your phone or whatever device and type, stick it to the patriarchy, and then do nothing. It doesn't affect you directly. So it's real cutesy for you to look like you're down for the cause while doing absolutely nothing to change the way the society is built up. We have to work on our attitudes. Oh my God. I'm telling all my secrets.
What do I get in trouble for it? Your weaknesses on my screen.
Oh my goodness.
Share something cute.
But seriously, y'all.
Hello.
There's just so much concentrated misinformation too. It feels like we are inundated by, if you're on YouTube, there have been a bunch of attack ads lying against this current administration, saying they're going to take Social Security away, saying that they're attacking stuff, saying that this deficit is their fault. We know who caused the deficit. It's that fucking guy who's currently suing his niece and the New York Times for $100 million, which coincidentally is how much his building's going up for. Y'all gotta stop amplifying grifters. We have to stop pushing performative antics on the same level as people who get the work done. For every Lauren Underwood, there are way more AOCs, way more Rashida Tlaibs, way more people who shouldn't be in politics, shouldn't be leading news stories, but are. And don't even get me started on the mess that is our media right now. Between people stunting online just so people will argue with them so that they can have their next hit piece article against this administration, to what happened a few days ago at the border, which until we know more, maybe not weigh in so heavily on. Because I've seen way too many people who I thought had more sense really putting out asinine shit. I get that immigration and what's going on at the border sparks pain for some people. And sometimes that pain makes you tweet out ignorance. But to act like this administration is anything like the administration that caused the issues that these migrant people are going through is disingenuous, and you know it. I get it. You want to take a dig at Joe. Joe wasn't a lot of our first choices. I have always been open about that. But I stood by him when he won the primary because I knew the alternative was garbage. I knew the alternative caused the death of my family and friends. So I'm not playing those kind of games. And I'm getting really sick of people who I thought knew better putting out their own ways to hit this administration because they're not satisfied that certain things in 8 months aren't done for them. Some of you act like the president just has magical powers, that he can just say something and make it happen. That is not how things work. That is not how it ever worked. And the fact is, to act like this administration did nothing in 8 months when they have had to clean up, roll back, repair global alliances and damage caused by Trump. How dare you act like what happened with the Haitian migrants is just something that shows how bad the Biden administration is? Are you kidding me? 15, was it 1,500? 15,000 from what I read. People just show up at the border, all coordinated in buses, ready to record the abuse. And of course, it being Texas, they were more than happy to act abusive. It all felt like a stunt to me. But until I know all the information, I don't go hem hawing and whining on Twitter about it. But some of you did. And it's embarrassing. I get it. Especially when you're a black woman. And if you feel targeted by what I say, oh well, sister girl. You feel frustrated because we keep seeing the same old, same old. But it's not the same old, same old. Biden not only picked who I really feel like we're going to see her as our first woman president, but he is already filling at a fast pace judicial seats with black women, with black men. Our hopefully, I think they're still confirming him, but our soon to be leader, joint chief, I'm trying to get his title right for the military, is going to be a black general. We are getting the strides. It's just not going to be a fast thing because this is not a TV show. Exactly, respect. It is exactly like when President Obama took office. Everybody expected him to be a magical Negro, solve all the world's problems, erase 400 plus years of racism and toxicity, and ignore that we are a vapid, selfish culture that disrespects our elders because it's real fun to go, okay, Boomer, you're ruining our lives, but not understand what everybody has gone through. It's really cute to act like, well, I can be vegan and macrobiotic and do this diet, but I won't get a vaccination to protect me from a deadly pandemic because I know more than scientists who have spent their whole life researching. I'm smart. I get all my information from Facebook. We are sandwiched between selfish and stupid people. And they are killing themselves at a fast rate, overwhelming our hospitals, overwhelming retail workers, overwhelming our society because we have allowed people to believe that as long as they can look something up, even if they don't verify it, and as long as it feels good for them, that's as good as people who actually take the time to study, research, and verify. And that shit needs to be nipped in the bud too. I have seen so much amplification of stupidity from people giving out ridiculous amounts of advice when there are literally free shots out there for you to be safe, telling you to wear a mask, continue to social distance so that we can get a jump on this. People acting completely numb to the fact that we are still losing people by the day to this. There is just too much misinformation, and it doesn't help that people who have celebrity and other status who could be using their influence to make people think and be safer would much rather go, well, I'm still not sure. I need to believe and put out a fake ass story about why the vaccine isn't for me. It's a mess, y'all. And I need you to start understanding that we cannot keep allowing ourselves to ignore this mess. We need to call it out carefully without continuously amplifying their stuff. So that means don't retweet somebody putting a lie out. That is basic social media etiquette. You know somebody's spreading a lie, it's much more easier to tweet out the truth than it is to highlight that lie because all you're doing is spreading their misinformation. And for everybody you might get that'll say, yeah, that is a lie, you're helping other dum-dums see their lie. We need to narrow the spread of misinformation. And welcome to the chat, Teresa. I missed you earlier. And Ziana, thank you so much for being in the chat. I just feel like a lot of people help the spread of misinformation, even if that's not your goal. Whenever you take a screenshot of somebody to retweet them, because you know eventually they're going to erase that dumb stuff. Unless you're dropping that is that you receipt, don't re-amplify that. The likes are not worth it, y'all. I know having a tweet go viral feels like something to some of y'all. Trust me, as somebody who's had it happen, it's not. It's all right. Give me a second. Hopefully, it'll be back up in a moment. If not, we might have to wrap it up short, which would suck.
Oh, I think it came back.
All
Could
right.
just be my system too. Everybody else could be fine. I don't know.
I don't know. It's red though.
Yeah, it was red before and it was still working. I would just continue on.
All right. But I'm just saying it doesn't. It's not like Streamlabs if it doesn't have a backup recording.
Oh.
So if I don't know. If you see me, please let me know in the chat, y'all. I don't know if I'm live again. I just want to make sure that it's back up. Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you, Terry. But seriously, I feel like, especially with the rise of the people yelling, do something at this administration, when people retweet their nonsense, even to argue against them, y'all are giving them amplification. I have made it clear that I am not going to continue to do that because these people who want to yell do something but aren't organizing a vote, aren't running for something themselves, who are constantly louder than the message, only want voter apathy. Why? Because they profit off of chaos. If the midterms turn out the way they're trying to predict, of course, they can write news articles about how the Dems always fail and how there's always disarray and get you clicking and fearful. It is a cocktail of fuckery that we continue to swallow. And what I want people to do, instead of constantly arguing with these people, instead of constantly amplifying their stuff, don't give them that attention. Take that energy you have to make sure you know who's running in your local and state elections. Make sure you have a voting plan and help others formulate theirs. I want to shatter all of these cycles that has been continuous these last few decades of having a Republican mess everything up, having a Democrat elected to clean up the mess, and then giving them absolutely no support so that you can elect a worse Republican. And after Trump, we cannot afford anybody worse than him. And we can't afford for a Trump redo. And I know people are like, you can't scare me. Nah, I'm not talking to people like you. I don't have time for ignorant. I am talking to those of you who swear up and down that you vote, who don't have time to waste threatening to vote. Now is the time to keep and continue to organize. Everything helps. Whether you're postcard writing, phone or text banking, everything helps. You offering to drive people to the polls if they don't have mail-in measures. Making sure that people know if they have mail-in measures. Keeping your voice heard when somebody is running. We have a lot of races coming up. And I know it's hard to keep track of every single state, but if you're doing it for your state and maybe even the neighboring state, it's enough. Don't think any effort goes in vain. We all can work together and shut up those pundits. And definitely shut up those media outlets who want to continue this cycle of fuckery because they benefit off of chaos. I just really want people to understand that we can either perpetuate the cycle or put an end to it. I am tired of seeing people trying to get a jump on the midterms in a negative way. I am tired of seeing assholes like Mayuri Green, who almost got her ass beat by Representative Dingell from Michigan. Shout out, girl. Who shouldn't be a representative, who the ethics committee is going to get her because she used campaign money to pay her bills. And last I checked, that's not what campaign money is supposed to be used for, honey. But this is what I mean. When her seat comes up, we need to back whoever's taking her seat and not play the game of, oh, it's a GOP stronghold. Why does it matter? It all matters. Nancy needs as many reps who want to get the job done under her belt as possible. And when she passes that torch on to hopefully Representative Jeffries, fingers crossed, I'm a Hakeem stan, I'm not even gonna lie. But when she passes that torch on, we need representatives that have their act together. No more stunt queens, and definitely no more people with ethics issues. There are way too many of them strutting across stage, dumping a Bible that they've probably never read in their entire lives. Because to them, religious is used as a cudgel. And I don't trust people like that. But we keep turning our eyes to these stunt people and then blaming the president and vice president for shit that's going wrong. You want proper legislation like the George Floyd Act and the John Lewis Act. You want police reform. You want people not to have these restrictive abortion laws. But you don't want to look at your state and local reps. Some of you probably don't even know who's representing you. And it's ridiculous, y'all. If you want better, you have to put in the effort. And if putting in too much effort is too much for you, at least don't be a David. Put in your vote. You will be doing more than those who threaten, well, I'm just not going to vote then. I'll show them. I won't give them any support and then wonder why everything's falling apart. You realize how idiotic that is? Stop being stupid and get your shit together. I'm tired of having to be a mom on this, but I got the tone for it because I have a teenager. And I know most of us who have teenagers have had to tell our teenagers to get your shit together. It's not logical being an adult, being old enough to know that your vote can shape something and going, nah, I'll just sit home. Some blue verified checkmark told me that stuff isn't being done fast enough, so I should just withhold my vote. That'll show this administration. And then 4 years later, when something worse happens, well, how did we get here? Or even worse yet, well, that's the way it always happens. I don't know. Yeah, you did. You know. Because it's all fun and games to you. But it's not. And way too many people have paid with their lives. And way too many people are too stupid and have way too much access to guns, access to apps that tell them, well, if you want to stick animal paste up your rear to cure COVID, you can do it. Instead of paying attention to scientific theory. Because to them, they have spent a lifetime hearing how anybody smarter than you thinks they're better than you, and that's bad. We have a lot of stuff to combat. And the only thing we can do right now is our part. Because those people are not going to be easy to get through if we even can. Sadly, we're going to lose a lot more of them. So the only thing we can do is keep it moving past them. So when I say I am talking to those of you who have done your part, who continue to do your part, who are just feeling tired, I get you're tired, but don't lose hope. Keep organizing, keep strategizing. I see you. I see you because you're not out there putting your name out there. I see you because you're not trying to be famous for this. You just don't want to live in a situation where we have to lose 600,000 more people. You don't want to live in a situation where we become like that Gilead from The Handmaid's Tale. You just want to live. I see you. And I understand how hard it is, especially when you've got people who only stunt to be famous, who only want to pad their own pockets. But it can't be about them, y'all. We have to keep focused on what's important. And though we got that major victory on getting the White House back, we still have so much that needs to be done locally so that we have actual support. So many of us have been saying this for years. One of the problems with having the three branches is if they are not in sync with one another, laws don't get passed, shit don't get done, and it's like a slurry that gets stuck between dumb dams of GOP obstruction. And if you want to get rid of that obstruction, we have to vote it out. And we have to get away from that defeatist language of unwinnable because we know they're willing to try to cheat. And we have to show up in ways that even their antics won't work anymore. I want men like Mitch McConnell scared. I want men like Lindsey Graham crying. I am tired of playing with these people. But I also know that I can't do it alone. And I also know that I didn't do it alone when we all turned out last year to dump Trump on his ass. So we need to keep that momentum going. Know who's running in your local election. Know, especially for judiciary. You want any kind of police reform. We need to get justices who see us as human beings. Because as long as there's a judge sitting on the bench that wants to turn a blind eye to police brutality, qualified immunity is never going to go away. But if you wanted to, we need to have people in the legal system that see black and brown skin as human. Because if they don't have that at the top, the people who are in the middle and at the bottom are definitely not going to change their ways. I need y'all to understand that there are always going to be loud folks, the Bernie brats who want what they want but won't turn out for it. And then the GOP who are so indoctrinated and holding on to their power that they will sacrifice their own voters to ignorance. Anytime the Koch brothers could have put all that money into pushing the vaccine for them people, but they don't care. Because chaos and destabilization normally pushes apathy. Normally pushes people to feel like, well, nothing matters. Everything's shit. We have to push past that apathy. I want the last thing that surviving Koch brother to see is that his antics will no longer work. I also want him to be alive to see us swear in the first woman president. Just that sweet satisfaction because he has spent his whole entire bitter, disgusting life, instead of enriching and uplifting people, padding his own pockets and causing political destabilization. So this is my witch's curse. I hope he lives long enough so that when we elect our first female president, he has to swallow that bitter pill that all of his stunts and antics didn't work. And the only way this curse is going to work is that we all continue to work and undo his apathy and undo the little paid contrarian minions who try to keep us from doing our basic duties. We cannot keep being played, y'all. I know it's real easy to feel like, especially when somebody verified, paying you a little bit of attention is a nice thing. That pat on the head if they give you a like or a retweet. You need to have more value in yourself than that. Stop standing people just because they're famous, especially if they're only famous because they're full of antics. How does that make you look? You're a minion for somebody who's only known for starting shit. Have some self respect. and have some value in yourself. That's the problem. We are literally in a society that don't raise people to see their own self-worth. We raise ourselves to be in competition with other people, to look down on ourselves compared to other people. And if you get to be my age and realize that don't matter, you realize you wasted so many years doing that. I want us to get to a place where we are uplifting each other, where we are seeing the worth in people being here. But we ain't going to get there if all you want to do is uplift toxicity because they're famous. Right now, any fool with a camera and 15 minutes to embarrass themselves can become famous. So please watch who you're standing and watch who sicks you on people. I see that way too much on social media and it's tiring. If somebody you follow gets into a beef and you want to jump in on your own, that's one thing. You're a grown person, you're going to do you. But if you're constantly being sicked on somebody, and I know because I went through that, you gotta wonder if they're using you as a minion. And you need to nip that shit in the bud because you're nobody's attack dog. And to those of you who are using people like that because your follow numbers make you a bigwig, if you're not famous, you're not really anything. And if you lose your account, who's gonna know? Stop acting like divas. It's embarrassing at this point. I hate that I have to read people like this. But oh, there's a tornado one. Yeah, this weather has been crazy, Terry. I'm telling you, I don't understand it between the floods and everything else. It does feel kind of apocalyptic.
I think they meant that you were doing it for me.
Oh, okay. I thought it was she was talking about the weather here. But yeah, I just feel like a lot of people have been playing these games because they have no self-worth. So any little bit of attention lifts them up. But you're being used by people who will cut you out in the heartbeat. I seen it a couple of weeks back. There was this woman that went after this scammer. And I'm not going to name too many names because honestly, I don't need the drama in my life. But most of you probably know who I'm talking about. She went after this scammer who's also well known on TikTok, I believe. And he's been pretty proactive in his scams. And at first, it seemed like she was doing a good job. She got a bit too gassed up from it. And then she started attacking anyone associated with him and sicking people onto anybody who disagreed with her. Once you start being used as a minion, how long do you think it's going to be until you step out of line with homegirl and she turns against you? Because that's the ego that she had. Instead of taking the focus and keeping it on the scammer, she decided with this power, I'm going to go after everybody. I'm Queen Badass. And she lost a bunch of people who had her back because they seen early on, oh, there you go. Another diva who's going to try to use me as a minion. Drama's fun when you're on the outside, but once you get pulled into it, it'll erode you. So don't let yourself be pulled into somebody else's fight. I know it's fun to watch, but the moment you start going, I'm going to dox somebody for you, I'm going to attack somebody for you, I'm your biggest stan. So they don't know you and they don't know your name and they don't care. And you need to hear this because some of you are acting like that is the pinnacle of your life. And that's sad. Stop it. I am so sick of seeing people jumping on sides of social media like this shit is high school. It wasn't cool then, it ain't cool now, and more than likely you're going to be the one asked out. Because people like that aren't loyal. They sick you on people because they think that's all you're good for. And if you're in trouble, they ain't going to have your back. They don't know you. So what are you doing? It's just so tiring seeing the toxicity of some of these stan cultures, especially on social media. Y'all should know better. But yet you continuously feed into that mob mentality because it feels good to be a part of something. No, it doesn't. And you know it doesn't. Because it's never ending. It's like a beast you got to keep feeding. One drama to the next. You need to get a better life. You need to have a better hobby than this because it shows you don't. And if you're working on yourself, you ain't got time for this shit. So my advice to y'all is that's what you're currently doing and you want to out, it can be done. I know because I was 2015 to 2019, one of the top dragging, getting in the middle of drama until it fucking burnt me out types. I argue with MAGAs. I argue with Bernie bros. I jumped into any fight I could. Argue with Verify. Argue with famous people. And what do I got to show for it? Nothing. That shit'll get you ulcers. So instead of wasting time and energy jumping into the next fight, jumping into the next drama, I focused on voting. I focused on initiatives. Tomorrow, Axiom and I will be on for our Gen X Cynics. We're going to be talking about My Hero Academia and hero stuff in general. I am excited because I'm working on a new project that is being written for Black women and Black girls. And I know some people hearing that'll go, well, what about us? Y'all got writers? You just can have your own. I'm just tired of seeing Black women being portrayed in only one way. We can be strong. We can be tough, but we can also be princesses and goddesses. And I am so excited to bring this to you guys. And that is what I'm going to be working on nonstop. Well, not nonstop because I already gave myself a fever. And I promised Axiom that I would take it easy. But I will be having that story for y'all soon. And I am just so excited about that. On top of that, I am working very hard to get Axiom out there. And I know I've been saying it. The editing process does not go fast, y'all. And I know that there are some writers out there that have a team. I don't. I am relying on friends right now. So I know it feels like, man, she's been talking about this novel of hers for a while, and I have. But I want it put out the right way. So it's going to take some time. And I'm just so excited to get my work out there. And I'm hoping when it is out there that you all love it as much as I do. And I really just want people to start seeing Black women in different lights because there's so many versions of us out there. And even though some of us have shared commonality in the way we've grown up or some of our cultural things, there's a vast wealth of different attitudes and knowledge and culture that so many people just overlook. And I just want to share that beauty with people. And thank you, Respect. I get excited thinking about it. But I'm gonna wrap this up. We're gonna get dinner. We're gonna probably join our friend's stream because it's his birthday. So if any of y'all know King Blackfang, please head over and wish him a happy 25th. He is an amazing streamer. And I just want to thank you all for tuning into this cast tonight. It'll be up on YouTube probably later on tonight or tomorrow. And I will see y'all soon.